Welcome to episode 64 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and four-string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co-host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
Dude, what is going on? This week wasn't as opposite as a whole as last week, but relative to us, it was even crazier. You take two of the worst teams in the league, our teams, and then they beat two of the best teams in the league. What is going on?
Yeah, it was a weirdly inverted, kind of upside down week. You're right. You're right. Outside of that, I think it was mostly fairly straightforward, but there were a couple of surprises like the
Lions,
Bucks.
Lions tying the Steelers.
Yeah, there's that too. So we're live right here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, and I think we're only 9 minutes off this week, which is probably the best we've ever done. So if you like what you hear and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, to subscribe. But of course, you can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us. So this week we've got Game of the Week. We've got Who Wrecked Face this week. We've got Commentators Say the Darndest Things. We've got a special segment, drumroll please, Tricky Picks, and of course, thank you, and of course, our Week 11 game predictions. So let's go ahead and start off with our Game of the Week, which was going to be, was it Browns Patriots?
Browns Patriots.
Yeah, and the Patriots decided to just roll out like it was 2008 or whatever, and they demolished the Browns at home. So we went with our backup, which we said was going to be Vikings at Chargers, and that game was a close game, did not disappoint. Joseph made a comment before the show that it was the lamest game of the week that we've done so far. I don't know if that's true.
I said
but
underwhelming.
okay,
Underwhelming.
most underwhelming game of the week so far. We'll see. Let's discuss it first. Yeah, lame's maybe a little harsh. Let's discuss it first, and then we'll see what we can pronounce judgment at the end. Okay.
But I need to clarify. Technically, I'm actually wrong because I realized we did the Texans Dolphins game. That was done kind of out of some sentiment, So that being an anomaly, then I still think it was one of the, if not the most underwhelming game of the week. But it wasn't a bad game.
So if underwhelming is defined as the teams performing well, then absolutely. But if underwhelming is defined as not fun to watch, then I would actually say last week might have been the best game of the week we've done, because that game
Okay, all right.
That was easily the most fun game I've watched all season of any ever, of any game. That was the most fun that I've watched all season. So
maybe okay. So then you know what? Then that actually ironically helps my case. I the Chargers Vikings game, it was not boring. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't like we picked game of the week to represent one of the best or like the best game of that week, right? That's by definition. And so last week is a down week in my opinion. If we ended up going with Chargers Vikings, because that game in and of itself was just kind of decent. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure, I agree that this was not like the most exciting game, but I think we're shooing away our viewers as we speak. So let's go ahead and dive into this game, which was the greatest game of the week that we've ever watched, just so that you stick around with us. Just kidding. So quarter one, on the Chargers' first drive, Eric Kendricks gets a nice open field sack on Justin Herbert, and then we get a 45-yard punt return by D.D. Westbrook. And then on the Vikings, on that drive by the Vikings on a 3rd and 4, Cousins get the ball knocked out. Now, it looked like he passed it. It didn't look like it got punched out. It looked like he did throw it, and the angle of the camera was a little weird because it was a little bit in advance of the line of scrimmage. So it looked kind of like it was barely ahead of lateral, which would have made it an incomplete pass, but it was clearly ruled a fumble, and the Chargers recovered. Did that look like a lateral pass to you?
I did not see it.
Okay.
I don't recall. I don't. Maybe that wasn't. It's clear on the I don't recall that play.
Okay. So yeah, he threw it, and it must have been counted as a lateral, and Chargers recover the fumble. So um, then there was a horrific drop by one of the Chargers receivers. I don't remember who it was, and that forces them to punt. Um, and then on the Vikings ensuing drive, Madison rips off a great 24-yard catch and run. I want to say I counted 4 or 5 missed tackles on that.
Yeah, dude, that was epic. That was beast mode all over again, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was. It felt like a lot more than 24 yards, but yeah. So that was an awesome play by him. So at this point, it's 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, and we roll into the second quarter, and the Madison's effort stalls out, and the Vikings kick a field goal. So the Vikings are now up 3-0. Then on the Chargers drive, their response drive, there was a PI called on a pass from Herbert to somebody. I don't remember who it was, but the corner was Bashad Breeland. And I thought this was a bad call. I thought they were both turned facing the ball. They were both making a play for the ball, and it gets dislodged. But the Chargers pick up the PI. Do you remember this play?
Yes, yeah. So I had to rewatch it several times because I had a similar feeling where it's like, oh, is that really PI? But after rewatching it, I actually think it's a good call because the defender, he has his left arm in the way of the receiver's right arm, and he's actually grabbing onto his jersey. So once the ball's in the zone, like in their hands, and it's when you focus on that region, guy, but he's blocking the receiver's arm, and in slow-mo, it shows he has his fist holding onto his jersey. So after I replayed it a few times and saw that, I leaned towards it being PI. But here's the real question. Did the refs see that and make a great call? Or were they just persuaded in throwing it for a PI? Because it wasn't clearly a PI at first from a general view. So did they see it and make a great call? Or did they just kind of, get lucky?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, obviously, but I would always lean towards them just sort of getting lucky.
Yeah,
because
so overall,
the jersey grab, I think, was kind of hard to see. Like, it was fairly brief, and it was while they were already in midair. So if I was a ref, I'm not sure that's where my eyes would have been.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, I think retrospectively, it was a good call. I think it met enough. Granted, I know it's slow mo, but it met enough, in my opinion, to be, a PI. But it wasn't like super, incredibly blatant. But yeah, I do think the refs are probably either more lucky or maybe even pressured because how would they have seen that? So who knows?
All we can say is, man, it's rough to be a corner in this league. So that gets the Chargers close enough for a 45-yard field goal, so they kick and tie the game at 3. And there was I guess. Oh yeah, so the Vikings' next drive, they drive all the way down. Cousins throws a pass to someone Ham. I don't know his first name, but his last name is Ham, and it looked like a touchdown, but then they called it back because of a holding penalty on the Vikings. And then the Chargers end up defending the end zone and force Vikings to kick another field goal, this time 30 yards. So it's now 6-3 Vikings. And so far, Joseph's on pace to be right about this game not being incredibly interesting. The first half definitely was not all that interesting. CJ Ham is his name. So then Herbert throws a pick on their next drive. And this one, I had to rewatch it a couple times because it wasn't totally clear to me how much fault was Herbert's as opposed to the receiver. It looked like the receiver was sort of slanting and Herbert just didn't throw it like in enough anticipation for where the receiver was going to go as opposed to where he was, and Kendricks just kind of inserted himself into the play and made a really good catch. So I kind of credit that a little bit more to the defender just making a good play rather than it being a bad pass. I don't know what you thought on that.
Wait, did Eric Kendricks have 2 interceptions?
No,
Okay.
He had 1 interception.
Okay, sorry. Maybe we were talking about this before the show because I'm like, wait. Because I recall the Kendricks interception, but I guess I don't recall where to put the blame.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying it's probably not a whole lot of blame on Herbert. I think he just could have thrown the ball a little bit more in anticipation of the receiver, but I don't think it was a bad throw.
Okay.
I think just Kendricks kind of pivoted and made a good play on the ball. With as football experts say, with his quickness. So
was he opportunistic in doing it too?
Yeah, he was opportunistic, and after you could see his swagger. So, oh yeah, and then Justin Jefferson. This is where Justin Jefferson turned on here. So he had a couple of great catches where he pushed multiple defenders for a first down. And Justin Jefferson's kind of a small guy. Like he's tall-ish, but he's not the tallest receiver there, and he's pretty skinny.
Dude, 6'1", 195 here.
Yeah, and he pushed on that next Vikings drive. He pushed multiple defenders to get a first down. And then that set up a touchdown pass from Cousins to Tyler Conklin, and that put the Vikings up 13-3. And then on the Chargers drive, there was another PI call on Keenan Allen, or on the defender that was defending Keenan Allen. And I don't know. This one was also iffy to me. I had to rewatch it a couple times. It looked like the defender was clearly behind Allen, and it looked like he was reaching out. Wasn't facing the ball, but it looks like he was reaching out. I couldn't tell if he grabbed jersey or not. The view wasn't clear on that. But the ball was not catchable. It was not catchable. It was like a good 6 or 7 yards in front of Allen. And I always thought that for the PI calls that if it's not catchable, then it can't be a PI. It has to be just your 5 yard. It's like illegal contact or whatever, which gives you the 5 yards and the first down, not the spot of the foul first down.
Yeah.
But apparently refs don't care anymore if it's catchable or not, apparently, because it was not catchable at all. And then that gives them a chunk of yardage, and the Chargers get into the end zone on that awesome, I think his name's Larry Roundtree. He just like jumps over the pile for a score.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
was that third down? What down was that when they? I know that was.
I'm not sure. I didn't mark that down. No pun intended. But they score, and I think they were at like the 1 yard line or something. They score, and it's now 13-10 Vikings. Halftime. So opening up the third quarter, the Chargers start off with a strong drive. They kind of come out, looks like they made some good adjustments, and they cap it off with a touchdown pass to Austin Eckler in a pretty tight window, too. It was a nice pass by Herbert. And the Chargers are now up 17-13 for their first lead of the day. And then this next drive was the Justin Jefferson drive. So first he makes a leaping catch for a 27-yard pass. Awesome play.
If that's the one I'm thinking of, that was incredible.
It
If that's the one
was.
I'm
Yeah, it was incredible. And then later on, he draws a PI on a 3rd and 10. And I kind of thought this was sort of a key turning point in the game because then it allowed the Vikings to go down and score another touchdown. And this time it was from a pass from Cousins to Conklin again. And the funny thing about this one is it didn't look like Cousins thought this was going to be a touchdown pass because he sort of floated it up in the air. It got behind a couple defenders, and then it was so slow. It felt like the ball was in the air for like a year. And Tyler Conklin just sort of slid underneath it and caught it, and bailed him out for sure. That was almost disaster. But Conklin caught it, and the Vikings now retake the lead at 20-17.
So I got a comment on that.
Yeah.
I probably rewatched that in regular and I think slow motion easily 6 to 8 times, maybe more. And so I think the defender, 99, I don't know his name, he just had his footwork. He couldn't. He. I think he should have been able to have intercepted that or tipped it. But if you watch it, I think he just gets cut up on his feet. He doesn't like. It's not like a klutz or anything, but it just looks like he can't position his body. It's like his lower body was moving and his feet, he just couldn't position himself, or he just kind of stuttered because he's looking at Cousins. He looks at Cousins and it looks like he sees him throw the little, drop pass there. So something, I don't know if like his brain and his legs were just miscued, but I think that he could have, and I think probably should have tipped that or intercepted that ball. And after watching it over and over again, I just think I don't know, his brain and his body weren't on the same page because he just couldn't get himself in position, but I think he should have. So that was kind of lucky because that was a floater, and that could have been defended. That was 4th down. So, which I think is interesting because it wasn't like the Chargers were playing great. They were only up by 4, and that was the 3rd quarter, right? Or was that 4th quarter?
That was the end of the 3rd quarter.
Okay, so it's not a bad play call, to not kick the field goal there, but it wasn't like 4th and inches. That was like 4th on like the 1 or 1.5 yard line. So interesting play call, pretty gutsy. If Cousins wanted to make a good throw, he should have floated that with another 5 to 10% effort. But yeah, that could have been tipped or intercepted, and 99 just couldn't get his feet in the right position.
I'll have to watch that again because I wasn't paying any attention to 99. So I'll take a look at that again. Okay, so we roll into the 4th quarter. The Vikings force a punt on the Chargers' next drive, and they roll down the field and score another touchdown. This time a rushing touchdown by Dalvin Cook. So it's now 27-17 Vikings. And at this point, in retrospect, the Vikings had iced the game. The Chargers do look good moving the ball on their next drive, but they do get stopped in the red zone. They kick the field goal to get the sure points, bring it to make it a 1-score game. And then the defense just epically fails twice to get the ball back. The first was on a 3rd and 6 conversion to Justin Jefferson with 2:55 left. And at that point, the Chargers did have all 3 of their timeouts. But then on a 3rd so the defense gets it to a 3rd and 20, right? And Cousins completes to Thielen, but he's 2 yards short. So now it's a 4th and 2. And I want to say I don't know how much time is left. I think it was like I
think it was 3 minutes and 4 seconds. I remember there being like around 3 minutes, I believe.
It's less. The previous one, the 3rd and 6, was 2:55.
Never mind. Then I'm thinking of something else.
And then the next play was the next couple of plays. There was a 1st down, a 2nd down, and then the 3rd and 20 to Thielen.
I think that's what it is. Maybe the 3rd and 20 was around the 3-minute mark, and then the next play was right because he said 2:55 for the 3rd and 20.
No, 2:55 for the 3rd and 6 to Jefferson.
Okay, then maybe it was that.
So it was something. It was low 2 minutes. I think it was like right around the 2-minute warning. And then the Chargers, and then the Vikings convert the 4th and 2 on a Cook run, and that on the Chargers 36. I thought this was great game management. I thought they dial up a great play to Thielen, and at this point they're in field goal range. But instead of kicking the field goal, they decide to. It would have been a deep field goal, like a 53, 54 yarder. So instead of risking the biscuit on that, they decide to go for it on 4th and 2, and they make it, and that essentially that ended the game right there. And because if they had chosen to kick and then miss, right, that's the same thing as going for it on 4th and 2 and not making it, right?
Yeah.
It's a turnover either way, and this way if they kick and make it, then they're up 2 scores and it probably doesn't matter. But if they get it on 4th and 2, then it also probably doesn't matter. So it's sort of there's maybe a little bit less risk running for it on 4th and 2 with Dalvin Cook than there is kicking a 54-yarder that could get blocked or whatever.
Yep.
So I think that was just a genius play call, I thought, and that was all the Vikings needed to defeat the Chargers 27-20, and the Vikings are still in the hunt for that 7th playoff spot, and the Chargers are going to need to step it up a little bit if they want to snag a spot. They're 5-4 now, 2-3 at home. They've got another matchup against the Chiefs coming up, so they're the Chargers and the Vikings are both still in the hunt. So this was a very consequential game for both of them, and I wouldn't be surprised if we look back and say this is the game that kind of turned fortunes for one of these teams.
Or the Vikings-Niners game.
That is also going to be very important.
Which, by the way, just want to give everyone a little comment here that in our special segment coming up, we were going to do more, and part of it was related to looking at teams and their records. But I let Jeremy know that there was just no way we could do that because I counted my metric, so maybe Jeremy has a different metric, but I counted 13 playoff critical games in the next 2 weeks. And even after those games are done, it wouldn't have been a guarantee on our predictions of who's going to, is their season over or make the playoffs. You have Vikings Steelers at some point. You have Cardinals and Rams. You have Rams Packers. You have Vikings and Niners. You just got so much going on. So that I say that because of our comments right now of, Vikings Niners is important, and this game with the Vikings and Chargers is big, but the next 2 weeks are just loaded of playoff important games.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay, so let's move into our second segment for the night, which is Who Wrecked Face this week. And we've got a handful of players to talk about. So, Joseph, why don't you go first? You're going to go with quarterback, rushing, some receiving, and then also a got wrecked selection.
Yeah, so we have... So for quarterback, we have Patrick Mahomes, 35 of 50. Just a casual 70% when you're throwing 406 yards. 5 touchdowns and no picks. I have not seen the replays of those, but I did see it was either a Reddit post or a tweet saying that I think 2 of those should have been intercepted. They were kind of gifted. So I'll also look at the highlights, but the stats show them here. So 5 touchdowns, no picks, 127 passer rating. And then receivers, Justin Jefferson, 9 receptions, 143 yards. If you just want to watch highlights from that game, Jefferson made some great catches. Dude, he's only in his second year. He's already showing himself to be one of the more talented receivers.
Oh yeah, no, they're because remember they traded Diggs to the Bills and got the pick that they used on Jefferson. So
okay, you know what? Maybe I thought Diggs. Yeah, okay. Well, that worked out well. I mean, because Diggs is also a great receiver, and he's actually next on this list. Diggs,
right,
8 receptions, 162 yards, one touchdown. Yeah, so Diggs and Jefferson are both top 10 receivers, and in terms of talent and potential, could easily both be top 4 or 5 receivers.
And Jefferson is cheaper.
Yep. Though Diggs is Diggs I think is 29 years old, 28.
Well, I'm just saying he's on a rookie contract.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So he freed up cap space, basically.
Yeah. All right. So that's passing and receiving. And then rushing, we have 2 team performances here. There wasn't really any standout individual performance, but team performances. The Jaguars, 2 rushing touchdowns, 179 yards. Okay, those 2 decent on a 7.5 average. And then the Lions, also 2 rushing touchdowns, a 5.9 average, which is very solid, but 229 rushing yards. So really good there. And then for who got wrecked, oh man, where is it at? Sorry, Mike White of the Jets, 24 of 44, 251 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And then this one's bad.
I have a comment. We'll go back to him in a second.
Yeah, the Falcons passing. So it's a little bittersweet because it's nice to see Josh Rosen getting a chance, but his performance. So Matt Ryan was 9 of 21 for 117 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 picks. That has to be one of his worst career games. That's for a 9.1 QBR. And then I almost said Joe Flacco. Josh Rosen, 1 of 6, 14 yards, and an interception. So combined, we have 10 of 27, that's net yards. So do some math here. 10 of 27, 131 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 picks. That's for a passer
rating of 13.6.
Yeah, passer rating of 13.6. That's abysmal. So yeah, what are your comments?
So I was just going to go back to Mike White because after that epic performance that he put up against, I forget who it was. It was a week or 2 ago.
Bengals.
Was it the Bengals? Like everybody was saying, like, oh, maybe they found the guy in him, and that it's not actually Zach Wilson and all this stuff, and then he comes out and lays that egg. So, it's amazing how fickle fanhood can be in the NFL. Okay, so I've got one quarterback. That's Josh Allen, who had a really, really good 21 for 28, which is 75% flat, 366 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but a 125.6 rating in their just demolition of the Jets this week. Then Deebo Samuel, I have to mention him because under receiving, he had five receptions on 5 targets for 97 yards and a touchdown, but he also had 5 carries on 36 yards, 36 yards and a touchdown. So 133 total yards and 2 touchdowns. And then I got some really, really solid defenders this week. So we've got the Bucks Linebackers. Check this out. Devin White had 18 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss, which is like a one-man defense, basically. And then Levante David, right next to him, had 14 tackles and a forced fumble. And you'd think with a performance like that, the Bucks did pretty well, except they lost 29-19 to the football team. So there's that, but we won't think about that for now. Awesome performance by White and David. Then Davion Taylor, linebacker for the Eagles, had 7 tackles but 2 forced fumbles. And then my man Jimmy Ward last night in the absolute pancaking of the Rams on Monday Night Football, he only had 2 tackles, but he had 2 interceptions, and one of them was a pick 6. So
now, speaking of pancaking, there's a Twitter video of George Kittle. Is it George or Greg? It's George, isn't
George.
it? Yeah.
Greg Kittle.
For some reason, I did. That's not the first time. That's not the first time I've gotten that mixed
And
up.
it's not the first time that other people have either.
Yeah. So George Kittle pancakes Von Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, in defense of Von Miller, it looked like he got hit. His leg got hit by another player, so that probably affected his balance and all that. But still, Kittle just overpowers him. And I read a comment saying that if you look at blocking and receiving, Kittle's the best tight end in the league.
Yeah, I think
Kelsey might be a better receiving tight end.
Yeah. I was just going to say Kelsey's a better receiving tight end, but Kittle is by far and away the best blocking tight end. And then you combine that with his receiving, his yak, and you could argue he's the best. I think given the injuries and having some down games this year, you maybe still put Kelsey at number 1, but he's easily number 2.
Yeah, and by the way, the yak's a great point. I think he's faster and he's better after the catch. So if you factor in everything, especially the blocking, if you factor in everything, I mean, including injuries and blocking,
and that he's done it with worse quarterback play.
He's no worse than the second best tight end with considering everything.
Agreed.
So, yeah, hopefully he can have a healthy, sustained career because he's on track for Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, he is definitely. Yeah, he just has to stay healthy. That's the thing. He just has to stay healthy. All right, and then I had a couple of got wrecked. We had got Cardinals passing 17 for 29 for 143 yards, a touchdown, 57.1 average rating. They laid an egg against the Panthers this week, 34-10. And then this one's the bet. Save the best for last. All right, there were all these videos out on Twitter and everywhere about Russell Wilson doing his rehab and look up close at these finger exercises that he's doing to get his finger back in shape. And he's going to come out there and just dominate at home. The Seahawks scored 0 points. Russell Wilson was 20 for 40. Okay, he had 40 pass attempts with a broken finger for 161 yards and 2 interceptions for a 39.7 rating.
Passer rating? 39.7 passer rating?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, they weren't at home. They were on the road. But regardless, amazing. Just amazing, amazing. And they are now 3-6, and they're out of it at this point. They'd have to go on an uncharacteristic tear to even be in play for that 7th spot, I think.
And I'm pretty sure, let me look up really quick. I'm pretty sure they have an unfavorable schedule.
Yeah, they still have another Rams game. They have both of their Cardinals game. They have a Niners game, and then they have.
So they have some easier ones in there, but
they do. Enough. Yeah, they've got Lions, Bears, Texans, and Washington. But even if they won all 4 of those, that's still only 7 wins, and then they'd have to pluck division wins, which I don't see. I don't see them beating the Cardinals. I mean,
yeah, I agree. They have some problems here, and if you beat them, it's over. Because
for sure, if we beat them, yeah.
Yes. So Cardinals are like, I would say right now the Cardinals are minimum 90% missing the playoffs. Minimum.
The Seahawks, you mean?
Did I say Cardinals?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yes.
Don't worry, Cardinals fans. With your 8-2 record, we're pretty sure you're making the playoffs this year.
True, but they're not. Sadly, they're not going to get the 1 seed. That's almost locked up. But we can talk about that later. So.
Oh, to the Packers.
Yeah, the Pack. I looked at the tie breaks and did all of that, the other day. And so we'll do it more. We'll go over that in 2 weeks. But yeah, it's where it's looking at right now. It's like 95% minimum the Packers because of how all the tie breaks work out. So we'll see how the next 2 weeks go.
Okay. All right. So we'll move into our third segment of the night, which is commentators say the darndest things. And we got 2 great quotes from the Vikings at Chargers game. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to look up the name of the color commentator in this game, but his first quote, I'll save the best one for last. So his first quote, not in chronological order, was, um, this was on the Vikings were knocking on the door, and he says, he calls out the coverage. He says, man to man coverage. You got to keep your eye on your luggage, just like you're in the airport. and then on another play, this was right after Justin Herbert's on the next Chargers drive after the Herbert interception. He's referring to Herbert and the interception, and he says that Herbert needs to flush that thing down the toilet like that goldfish in third grade and move on.
Dude, I remember listening in the highlight version on YouTube is great because it just kind of like on the next play it just goes right into him saying that. I'm just like watching the game and all of a sudden it's like you need to flush that goldfish down the toilet. I was like, what?
Yeah, watching in the highlights it is out of context totally, but yeah. Okay. So our fourth segment of the night is our special segment of the week, and that is our mid-season check-in. So we're going to be doing two things. Our first is we're going to be discussing Joseph's and my top 3 in order selections for MVP, and we each have our own list that we did not share in advance, so this will be the first time we're hearing each other say this. And then we're also going to have a brief conversation about the state of the 49ers and the Dolphins and kind of what caused their seasons to sputter, what things they need to improve, what the rest of the season looks like, and then kind of maybe a couple brief notes about how we look forward to next year. So, all right, MVP. Who's going first on this one?
I'll go first.
Okay. And do you want to start with number 3 and then go to number 1? Just to make it more exciting?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. And so I have tiers. So my third pick is in tier 2. And it was tough, so I'll do honorable mentions. And these guys can also be squeezed into tier 2 or so, but then I'll just pick the one I'm going with.
Wait, can I guess the honorable mention?
I have 3 honorable mentions.
Can I guess one of them?
You can guess as many as you want, man.
Is it Aaron Donald?
Oh my gosh!
Is there a joke that is more age old than that one for us at this point?
In terms of the football realm, probably not many.
Yeah, no. In terms of the football realm, I don't think there's one that's more classic than that one.
Yeah, I mean, because. Yeah, dude, it's bad. I'm recalling in our first season, we did a segment, one of the earlier special segments, where we looked at ESPN had the top 100 players, and they had them up there, and we talked about it, and I went on this really long, epic rant, 4 years ago on that, and oh my goodness, yeah, look, Aaron Donald is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the best, if not the best, playing on the defensive line. And he does it at at a high level. And he's great. And he could have retired 2 years ago and he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
And he doesn't know who Deebo Samuel is.
Those are all valid and true points. And he's still great. That doesn't make him an MVP candidate every year. And that's the problem.
Yeah, both things can be true. So just before, okay, so I'll seriously let you do your honorable mentions. But before you do that, I was going to pull up stats so that I could kind of track with you as we go. And I accidentally went to, on ESPN, I went to college football stat leaders. And I was like, wait, who the heck is Bailey Zapp? What is going on here? Okay. So
here's the funny thing. I think that you have now visited the college football stats just as much as I have this season.
Oh gosh.
I hardly check college football stats. I check the rankings a lot.
I'm proud of you.
I check the rankings and schedules a lot. I don't really go to stats. So yeah, hardly go to stats, my friend. So you just are now in the same, the fact that you went from 0 to 1, that I guess I'm proud of you too.
I hope
All
I
right.
never misclick again. All right, honorable mentions for MVP,
Well,
Joseph.
I want you to guess. I mean, I want to hear
Oh,
like
okay.
real
You want me
guess.
to? Okay, so you had 3 honorable mentions plus your 3, 2, 1, right? So you're
Yes.
gonna name 6 total players.
Yes.
Okay, so for honorable mentions, I'm going to guess. Give me 1 second to just sort a couple of stats here. So I'm gonna guess Dak Prescott. I'll name all 3 and then you can tell me how wrong I am. How about that? So
Okay.
Dak Prescott. Um, let's see. Are you gonna put him in there? I hope you don't, because there might be friendship issues if you do. Let's
Oh
see.
man. Oh
um,
boy. Who's that? Who's that?
um, I Patrick Mahomes might have risen to the honorable mentions list, possibly. He's definitely not in the top 3. He shouldn't be, and if he is, we're canceling the show. But I'll say maybe you put him in there. And then it's kind of close between Kirk Cousins and maybe Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. I'll
Okay.
say Cousins, Prescott, and Mahomes.
Okay. So Mahomes is not up there.
Okay, all right. So episode 65 of the Practice Squad will happen.
These there wasn't a ton of thought. There was some glancing here and but Mahomes, I think interceptions are a little overrated because there's been at least 2 that were like not his fault at all. But he at best he could be an honorable mention, but I think I would go with the other guy. So by the way, Kirk Cousins, he's so close. Like I wrestled that one, so he probably could be up there. Josh Allen, he's a maybe. That's what my honorable mentions. Like Josh Allen, they kind of laid an egg once or twice, but overall still some good stats. Um, Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers, and then probably my best honorable mention is Lamar Jackson because he has good rushing stats and he's pulled
How
out some
many
big
rushing
wins.
touchdowns does he have? Because I didn't pull up both rushing stats. Let me check that real quick.
I don't know. Yeah, you go and check that.
So
Check on him.
he's 14-8 passing, but then rushing he has 2 rushing touchdowns. So he has
But I think
16 total touchdowns, but he has 639 yards.
Yeah, he has a lot of rushing yards. So he's going to end up probably with another 1,000. He's going to end up with a third consecutive 1,000-yard rushing. So in terms of yards, this will probably be his best season of his career. Not touchdowns and turnovers, but yards. So, and he's played in some big games, and outside of 1 or 2 games, he's played well. So Lamar Jackson. So, with my third pick, Dak Prescott.
Okay, sorry. You had Jackson, Rodgers, and Allen, right? Were your 3
Yes.
honorable mentions? Okay.
Yeah, but I could see Cousins up there. Mahomes is a maybe, but my third actual pick is Prescott.
Okay.
And he's tier 2. And then tier 1, is quite simple. I mean, I don't know how this could be. So I'd be curious to know what Jeremy has, if he has anyone different. Kind of surprising. But Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, I think it's just kind of clear. They're both in the same tier. So whether it's 1A, 1B, however you want to call it, they're the 2 front runners. At this point, they're almost indistinguishable. I know you have the head-to-head matchup where the Rams beat the Bucks and Stafford played well, but then Stafford laid an egg this last week, and Brady didn't play well either. So they're 1 and 2, and we'll see where they could be. And then we'll do like dark horse picks because Murray's been out for a week or 2, and he does have some decent performances and stats. So I wouldn't be surprised if guys like Rodgers and Murray claw their way back. And who knows? Like, if Cousins keeps playing well, they get the wins they need to against those, because they've had a pretty tough schedule. They I think 4 out of their 5 losses were combined for 11 points, and they played some good teams. So Cousins can get into the playoffs, have good enough stats. Who knows? Maybe even Cousins gets it. But that's where we stand right now. How about you, man?
Um, all right. So I did not do honorable mentions, but I think I agree mostly with the ones you picked. And my number 3 was Josh Allen. So I have elevated him from an honorable mention to a number 3 based on comparing our lists. So he has agreed, he has had a couple of kind of down games, but he's still been fairly consistent. He has in only 9 games, he has 2,600 passing yards and also 322 rushing yards plus 3 rushing touchdowns. So he has 22 he has 22 total touchdowns and 2,900 total yards after 9 games. He does have a little bit of a turnover issue. He has 6 picks and 4 fumbles, 1 lost. So he's that's why he's number 3 for me, is just because he does have a couple of issues. It was tough because I like guys like Aaron Rodgers and maybe Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott to take a slot like that. I just feel like they haven't been as prolific maybe as you'd be looking for in an MVP candidate. But I mean, Cousins 18-2 though looks really good. I mean, he's playing. He has the best turnover to interception ratio, or the second best turnover to interception ratio. So, turnover touchdown to interception. I do it by delta rather than ratio because I think that makes more sense. But yeah, that's my number 3, and then my number 2 is Russell Wilson, because no, I'm just kidding. No, my number 2 is Matthew Stafford, and I think that Tom Brady, in my eyes, is not a clear number 1, but I think he is, as the stats stand right now, he is the number 1. The 27 touchdowns he's averaging, he has the highest yards per game average, only 7 interceptions, and comparable completion percentage to all these other guys. So he just statistics wise is putting up another great year, and I think he's favored at this point. So,
all right,
okay. So now that we've just determined that Russell Wilson will be the MVP this season, let's talk about the Niners and the Dolphins. So, I guess I'll go ahead and start to kind of lay out the format a little bit. So the Niners, just to paint the picture of the season, if you're not a 49er fan and you're not keeping tabs on them every day like I am, the 49ers are 4-5 after a very strong win over the Rams last night in Monday Night Football. They are up until last night, the best word to describe them is sputtering. They have been inconsistent, and their biggest problem is that they get in their own way. They turn the ball over, and they make mistakes. They get penalties. They're losing games because they're shooting themselves in the foot. And all 5 games that they've lost were all winnable from a final score perspective, except for the Cardinals game that I attended last week. And that game they should have won because they were playing the practice squad. But as far as why this is going on, I think there's potentially a lot of reasons, but I think it really comes down to the fact that Kyle Shanahan has been trying to sell the idea that Jimmy Garoppolo gives us the best chance to win, and yet at the same time, he spent 3 first-round picks drafting Trey Lance this last offseason and has only started Lance in one game, and that was because Jimmy's calf was hurt. And the Niners lost by a touchdown to the Cardinals on the road. And I think there's maybe been some potential locker room division over that. We don't know that for sure. There hasn't been any official leaks or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a potential cause for what's going on. But I think ultimately,
what was the cause? Say it again. Last part again.
Just a potential division in support of who should be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
But I think that ultimately this has been somewhat of a coaching issue. I think Shanahan's play calling has been subpar for a lot of the season. I think there's just been execution problems with mistakes and penalties. The Niners have just been really, really undisciplined this year, and I think that ultimately falls on the coaching. They've got a rookie defensive coordinator, and at this point, Shanahan shouldn't still be trying to find the team identity, in the 5th year of his contract as head coach. Like he should know exactly what this team is. And then you combine that with some injuries, and I think they've just got a lot of not so great ingredients in their soup. However, that's the past, right? That's the last 9 games. They're 4-5. They definitely awoke last night and played like the team that we thought they were going to be at the start of the season. And if they can play at that level or close to that level consistently for the rest of the season, they will be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of which seed. If they can't be consistent, then they may trip into the 7th seed if the Vikings and the Seahawks and the Falcons all play poorly. But I think they're in my opinion, they control their own destiny. They've got several gimme games on their schedule. They still have Texans and Jaguars. They've got they get to play a Bengals team that's been struggling a little bit. They get to play a Seahawks team that's struggling a little bit. They have another game against the Rams that they always play well. They're done with their games against the Cardinals. They get to play the Falcons and the Vikings, right? So they get to play some not so great teams. I think they have one of the most favorable schedules for the rest of the season. So I see them as a 8 or 9 win team, and I think my prediction, I'm going to say it and put it in stone right now, that in the NFC, if a team has a winning record at the end of the season, they will be in the playoffs. There will be no teams with winning records that don't make it. That's my prediction.
So really quick, be careful on that. There might be one, but there's some interesting tiebreak scenarios. We look at Saints, Panthers, Vikings, Niners. There's some weird stuff going on there. So I'll agree with you, but just add there might be one. There could be one.
Yeah, I just don't.
But that's
I know the Panthers are 5-5. I don't really trust them, and we have no idea what's going to happen with the Saints quarterback situation. So there's a lot up in the air right now, I think, and that's why I'm glad we didn't do the whole prediction segment, because there's just too much shuffle going on right now to really have a meaningful prediction. But I think looking ahead, if we can get a couple of guys back from IR, get them healthy, if Jimmy can play fairly consistently, if we can stick to running the ball, and between that and our favorable schedule, this can be a 9-win team, right? They can go 5-4 or maybe 6-3 in their last or sorry, 5 and wait. They have 9 games, so they have 8 games Yeah, 5-3, or sorry, 6-2. 6-2 is maybe a stretch, but I think I can see them going 5-3.
All right. Yeah, and I do agree with your assessment. I guess just not 100%. Like, I think there could be, but if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say there's a 60 to 80% chance, maybe even higher, but solid chance that yeah, there won't be any winning teams that are in the playoffs who don't make the playoffs for the NFC. Um, yeah, you guys are interesting, and I feel like Dolphins are in a similar situation now, not with making the playoffs. I think we have a tougher schedule. Um, well, I shouldn't take that back. We do an easier schedule, but to similar situation as in both of these teams, right? Not just from Jeremy and I, but from like analysts, experts per se. Like these were both either 12 or 13 win teams going into the season, right? The minimum, you were to poll Jeremy and I and casual fans, big time fans, experts, I think the minimum wins combined between these two teams expected would be like 23-24. And for a little while here, we were looking at getting like 10 or 11, which is embarrassing. But even 25, 26 wins wasn't out of the question, given the talent and expectations and growth. Where we stand today, best case scenario is probably like 17 wins, but it'll be more like 14 or 15. So huge disappointments. Be curious to know what the largest delta in history is. If you take all the experts and just take two random teams, it doesn't matter which two, and what's the largest delta of like how far off the predictions were between any two given teams to start the season versus the end of the season. But I have a feeling that these two right here would be a good combination, or I guess a bad combination. So the Dolphins, they're a mystery. I don't talent wise, like they have to win 9 or 10 games. I don't get it. They already had a good receiving core last year, and they got better. They had a good defense last year, and I felt like had a decent draft with defense, but the defense has not lived up to the expectations. They haven't been terrible per se. They've had some stinkers, but like they haven't. I wouldn't say we're a bad or a terrible defense in terms of talent, but in terms of execution, it shows that. I think we have one of the worst. Is it yards per game we're giving up? So in terms of talent, we're just not meeting our expectations in terms of defense. Offense, we're absolutely not meeting talent. I think the biggest issues are we just we can start off better in the first half, and then we just can't close the game. When I think of, I'm going to give a few examples here. So Raiders Dolphins, or Dolphins Raiders, that was a tough one. That was a tough loss, losing in overtime. Looking at halftime, we're looking solid. Good defensive play, can't close out that game. Colts game, we're only down 7-3. We lose 27-17, and that game really had no shot. Even Dolphins Buccaneers, in the first 3 quarters of that game, we were in it. Look at the first 3 quarters of that game, and he says a pretty, evenish game, right? It's 10-10 in the second quarter, going to halftime down 10-24. We score in the third. We go to the fourth quarter down 17-24. And then the Bucks score 3 consecutive touchdowns. The Jaguars, oh my gosh, how disappointing was that Jaguars loss. The Falcons, we're down 13-7, and then we come back, and then we lose in the final seconds. The next Bills loss, right? 3-3 going into halftime. We're down 10-3 going to the fourth quarter, and we still lose 26-11. So we can't close out games, and when it's close, we still struggle. We get the crazy win off the Ravens, but even if you balance everything out, we're 3-7, and we should be 5-5, if not better. Like I think minimum, we should be 5-5. Anything less than that is bad. Where we're at right now is close to embarrassment, and we could have been 7-3. 7-3 would have been reasonable, right? A loss to the Bills, a loss at the Bucks, and then a loss to the Ravens, right? And then we win the other Bills game, and the rest aren't too bad. So 6-4, 5-5, but not 3-7. So moving forward, the other biggest issue, offensive line. Our offense, which has been confusing because we've had draft picks the last couple of years for the offensive line, but they're just not giving good coverage. I mean, no one really thought that Tua was or could be elite, but you don't have to be elite in this league to have a playoff team. You don't even have to be an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You can be average to good and take your team to the playoffs and even win a playoff game. And I would say Tua has that potential. But who is going to win a football game when your offensive line is having you scramble almost every play, every snap? At least, quarterback snap, not for a running play. So the offensive line has got serious issues, and we need to get them fixed. I would blame minimum 40%, if not upwards to 60, 70% of like our season's failure being on the inability to protect the quarterback. Moving forward, we have a lot of easy games. That's what actually makes this more difficult. I kind of wish we were 5-5, and then we squeak out and lose and not get to the playoffs. Right? It's almost more difficult to have a worse record and then do really well and then not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because look at this, right? We have both Jets games, Panthers, Giants, at Saints, at Titans, home against the Patriots. There's a lot of doable games in there. All right. So Jets, Panthers, Giants, Jets. We're taking 3 of those. I can't see why we can't take 3 of those. Patriots at home, we could take that. And then at Saints, at Titans. Now the Titans are playing out of their mind, and they'll probably have Derrick Henry back by then. So I'll call that a loss. At Saints is up in the air, right? What's going on with the quarterback situation? So, we could win 4, maybe 5 of those games. So it's gonna be quite frustrating how disappointing we've played the first 10 to end up with like 7 or 8 wins and then miss the playoffs or probably a game or two. When you consider all the parity going on with the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Browns, the Steelers, the Bengals, now the Patriots are getting to the mix. 9 wins could have gotten us into the playoffs. Certainly 10. And we should have been there. We absolutely should have been there. And so if we get 7 or 8 wins, it might be just more heartbreaking than if other teams were better in the AFC and we were 5-5 right now and we got 9 wins and didn't make it. So we've got to get the offensive line fixed. We do not have the draft capital next year like we've had the last couple of years. We don't even control our own pick. I forgot what team it is, but we don't even control our own pick in the first round in terms of where it ends up. So even if we were to tank, that wouldn't help. So I think we'll go 6-11 or 7-10. 8 wins at best, but probably 7 wins, 6 or 7 wins. Fix the offensive line and give Tua more opportunity to grow. And I think that'll be enough.
So let me just read a couple of statistical categories to kind of paint a picture. So this is all in yards per game or in points per game. So in offense, you guys are 4th worst in yards per game. You are bottom 3rd in passing yards per game, dead last in rushing yards per game, and points per game, you guys are 5th worst in points scored. Then defensively, you guys are 4th worst in yards allowed, 5th worst in passing yards allowed, middle of the pack, like right dead in the middle, rushing yards allowed, and bottom 3rd in points allowed. And you guys are -3 in turnovers.
Yep. And we may have, when you consider all of that, that might be one of the largest, if not the largest, discrepancy between performance and talent in the entire NFL right now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's true. And honestly, I mean, if you just look at the statistics, I know that doesn't tell the whole story, but if you guys had a more solid run game and just, I think, more consistent quarterback play, which obviously is going to be bolstered by a better O line, I think you guys probably would have flipped a couple of games, right? So I think you're just, who knows? Maybe if at the trade deadline you guys were 5-4, you guys might have traded for somebody. But it's not. You guys are obviously not, the season's in the trash can at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's tough, man. I wasn't expecting that from them this year, and you guys you got to develop Tua. That's the key, is developing Tua this year, so you guys can come out firing on all cylinders next season. Okay, let's move on to our tricky picks, and I'm just going to be reviewing the records because we are going to take the week off next week from this show. There will be no show next Tuesday for Thanksgiving week. So Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific on November 23rd is a great opportunity for you to catch up on past episodes of the Practice Squad, but there will not be a new episode. So this week on Tricky Picks, I was 4-0. Joseph was 1-3. I believe all of these picks were based on the Niners-Rams game, right?
Compared to the Dolphins, there were some comparisons to like how the Dolphins played versus how the Niners played.
Oh, okay. So I'm 22-26, and Joseph's 21-27. Okay, so let's go on to our final segment of the night, which is our predictions. I had a bad week. I was 6-7-1. For a total 87-62-1, which is 58.4%. And Joseph is 8-5-1, 90-59-1 for a 60.4%. So you're now up 3 games on me. You gained 2 this last week. So for week 11, we've got 15 games. Broncos and Rams are on bye. I'll go ahead and lead us off for the first game, and that is Thursday Night Football, Patriots at Falcons. I'm going Patriots.
Same. By the way, this week had a lot of tough picks. A lot.
It did, yeah, yes, I agree.
Colts at Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo.
Same. Ravens at Bears. Going Ravens.
Same. All right, now we start getting tough. Lions at Browns, because the Browns, I don't think Mayfield is out, but they've just been struggling and inconsistent. The Lions gave the Steelers a run for their money, so I'm going Browns, but this isn't a give me, in my opinion.
I agree. It's a must win for the Browns. Texans at Titans. I'm going Titans.
Same. Packers at Vikings. This one's tough.
It is.
This
tough.
one is tough.
It is.
I'm going Vikings, dude.
Okay. All right. I considered it.
I think considered. All right.
Yeah, I'm going Packers, but yeah, this is the Vikings are coming off of a good win. They're at home. It's a tough division game. Packers have been playing well. It could be a trap game. Who knows? But I think I trust Aaron Rodgers just a little bit more. But I think, yeah, this is a. I wish this was a. I wish this was a primetime game.
Yeah, and I think I considered that you could have thought the Vikings would win. I'm not sure, but yeah, this one's definitely close. So, you're up next.
Dolphins at Jets. I mean, with all the struggles with Mike White and etc., Joe Flacco, I'm going Dolphins. You guys can't lose this.
If we lose this game, I don't think we're going to talk about the Dolphins the rest of the season.
You'll have to go back to being a Broncos fan.
No, finally, the Cardinals. Remember the Cardinals?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Saints, Eagles. I'm going Eagles. Eagles are slowly, dude. Eagles, they might squeak in there. I don't know the rest of their schedule, but Eagles are. Who knows? With all the craziness in the NFC, if the Vikings and the Panthers and the Niners choke, Eagles could squeak in there, man. They could. But I'm picking them for the win.
Same. And then we've got football team at Panthers. I'm going Panthers. Christian McCaffrey's back, and Panthers are at home.
And I think Cam Newton's starting.
Oh, that's right. He reunited. He reunited just so he could get sacked one more time, huh?
I think this is a very difficult one to pick. This is the only game I actually hadn't picked before the show. I'll go Panthers.
I don't know if Cam Newton's married, but that would be an interesting conversation between him and his wife. He's like, "Hey, honey, I'm going back to the Panthers." It's like, "Honey, I actually, still want a husband in 6 years from now. Are you sure about this?" Sorry, you said you're going Panthers also?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 49ers at Jaguars. I mean, this is the same as Dolphins at Jets. There's just no excuse for the Niners to lose this game. So I'm going Niners.
Same. Bengals, Raiders. This one's tough. Are the Bengals? Who are the real Bengals? But the Raiders didn't really do much at home against the Chiefs. They're both 5-4, I believe. This one is. I do not like this game. I don't like this game at all. But I'll go Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going Raiders too. I also don't like it. The Bengals have cooled off a bit. I think the Raiders will bounce back after that embarrassing loss to the Chiefs last week. Cowboys at Chiefs. This is also really tough because both teams are coming off of like really big wins.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go Cowboys, but I ended up picking Chiefs. I feel like I trust their home situation a little bit more. Pipe in some crowd noise, get the crowd going. So I'm going Chiefs, but it's like a 53-47 pick for me.
I think I had a similar thought process where it's like, okay, if the Cowboys were home, I'd definitely pick the Cowboys. Cowboys offense is clicking. Trayvon Diggs is one of probably the best cornerbacks in the league. But Patrick Mahomes is still Mahomes. Did the Chiefs really wake up? Is this official, or was that a fluke? Which is kind of weird to say, the Chiefs having a fluke big win. But they're at home, and I just give them the slightest edge, and I agree. It is a 53-47 around there, so I'm going Chiefs. Cardinals. Wait, you're next, right? Who's next?
You're next.
Cardinals, Seahawks. Going Cardinals, but is Murray back?
So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So if I'll make it conditional. It's the Cardinals only if Murray's back. Because if Murray's not back, I mean, yeah, Wilson laid an egg, but they're at home, and he's going to do better than the road Cardinals team without Murray. So that's a conditional pick.
Yeah, I had the exact same. Is Cardinals if Murray plays. I think the Cardinals still should win, even if he doesn't. But I think it's a situation where I see Wilson, putting up 30 at home, and the Cardinals can't quite catch up with Colt McCoy or whoever they throw out there. So, yeah, same as you on that one. Then we got Steelers at Chargers. I didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole either, but I'm going Chargers just because I think they'll score more points. I mean, that's how you win games, right? But no, I mean, by that I mean the Steelers have just struggled to score points all season, and I think the Chargers, their offense is still working. It just they've sputtered a little bit, so I think they'll win this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Chargers. And then lastly, if this next game ends up being a trap game, then shame on Tom Brady and the Bucks. So it better not be a trap game. But Giants and Bucks, but I think the Bucks will win pretty well.
Same. Okay,
so did we differ on anything? What do we differ on?
Vikings. Just the one. Yeah. Okay, so Broncos and Rams on bye. No game of the week this week because next week is Thanksgiving. I just realized when I mentioned Thursday Night Football that there's actually going to be multiple Thursday games, right? There's normally 3, I believe.
For Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking 1 week ahead. This week is still the normal schedule. And then next week is Thanksgiving. That'll be when we'll have the 3 Thursday night games. This week is just the one that's Patriots at Falcons. Okay. So, yeah, no show next week on the 23rd. Hope everybody has a fantastic Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family, watch lots of football, eat lots of turkey, be, you know, grateful for everything God's given you and all the blessings in your life. And we look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. Joseph, any comments before we wrap up the show?
Not much, no.
All right, so that is a wrap for episode 64 of the Practice Squad. If you did not fall asleep during tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at the Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. Tonight's show will be available immediately after we go offline. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.